Hey y'all, my name is Priscilla and welcome back to my channel. Today I have recommendations for the Latinx-A-THON. The Latinx-A-THON is a readathon that I am co-hosting that starts at the beginning of Hispanic Latinx Heritage Month this year in September, starting September 15th. I will have all the information in case you missed my announcement video linked in the description box below. There's a lot of information there, but I don't think I was as clear about what is required for the Latinx-A-THON in my announcement video, so I want to clarify some things. We are really only requiring that you read books that are written by Latinx authors. That's it. You don't have to complete any of the prompts if you don't want to. You can take inspiration from the prompts or direction if you'd like, but you can only read one book if you really want to. And if you can't get a hold of the group book, that's totally fine with us as well. So with that all said, I am definitely going to be speaking directly to our prompts and our challenges, and those are the kinds of books that I am going to be recommending today. The first book that I want to recommend is called Citizen Illegal, and it is written by José Olivarez. This is a debut work of poetry, and it is written by a Mexican-American author. This collection explores the contradictions of being Latinx, of being Chicano in America. There are vivid portrayals of immigration and family and the sorrow and different experiences that come with that kind of identity. So some of those heavier topics I think are balanced very well with wit and humor. For instance, there is a poem called Mexican Heaven that is kind of split up and evenly distributed throughout the collection that is really just fun, and I thought that that was really smart to do. So I am recommending this today because it is just a really great poetry collection and its own voices for that Mexican American representation, and it would complete the challenges of roots for including more than one language in the text. The next two books I'm going to recommend are by authors that are kind of favorites of mine, or at least made my favorite books of 2018. The first book is called The Air You Breathe by Francis de Pontes Peebles. This is an epic historical fiction that is also a debut, and it is written by a Brazilian author. The main character is a queer sambista who is actually inspired by Chavela Vargas, who is a queer ranchera singer originally from Costa Rica. And the other is also inspired by the Brazilian Carmen Miranda, who was well known in the golden Hollywood age era. And I don't really want to go into too many details about this because I have a full video review of that if you'd like to know more. But just being brief, this is a story about ambition, about passion. It's full of music, of love, and betrayal. So if any of those things kind of intrigue you, you should definitely pick up this historical fiction. And because this is written by a Brazilian artist, this would complete the challenge of heritage. The next book that I have to talk about is called Like Water for Chocolate, and this is originally written by Laura Esquivel. This is a work of translated fiction. It's a classic in magical realism and Mexican literature. This follows a group of women, mostly Tita, the youngest of the De la Garza family. So Tita is forbidden to marry by her mother, and she uses her ability to cook to influence and to connect to her family and her love interest Pedro. And by connect, I mean that Tita is able to make others feel how she feels through her food. She can make people feel lustful or sad or ill even. I particularly love the format of this book, which is written in monthly installments of recipes. And the writing starts as a recipe, but seamlessly blends what could be a cookbook kind of writing to the narrative and to Tita's life and the struggles that she has living on this ranch with very little control of her own life. And that's why I love it so much. I know that I've mentioned before that I don't like the romance in this, and I definitely still stand by that. But the uniqueness and the impeccable magical realism in this is undeniable, and that's why I'm recommending it, because it's definitely inspired other magical realism writers that I love today. One being Anna Marie McLemore, who wrote When the Moon Was Ours, which is another book that could definitely fit for this readathon, but I'm definitely not recommending right now. But this book in particular would work for the Roots Challenge because it has been translated in a number of languages. You could probably find this translated in any language that you speak or read. The next book I am recommending is called With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. This is a book that I was really looking forward to because the Poet X, which I own, because the Poet X was one of my favorite books from last year. And if you haven't read this, you could definitely pick this for this prompt and this readathon because It's another great book by Elizabeth Acevedo. But regardless, With the Fire and High is the sophomore novel from Elizabeth Acevedo, who is a Dominican American. And these are both YA contemporaries that would fulfill the Voices Challenge because they feature a main character that's Afro-Latinx, and the author is also Afro-Latinx. This book features a main character named Imani Santiago, who is Puerto Rican and Black, and who loves to cook. And I love that in this book, food is not just food. It's nourishment for the mind, for the body, and the soul. And this is the one place that Imani can truly be herself, where she can create, where she can grow, and provide for her family. Despite being a teen mom, she's a badass, and she's doing it all and chasing her dreams of being a cook. The next book that I am recommending today is called A Simple Story, The Last Malambo, and it is written by Leila, Guerriero, and it is translated by Francis Riddle. This is a nonfiction book, very itty-bitty, very good for a readathon, that is taking place in a small town in Argentina and that follows dancers of this traditional Malambo dance. It's a nonfiction that's full of heart, so I definitely recommend it if you want something like that, want something that's kind of about sports and about the glory that comes with competition. And I didn't know anything about this dance, and I thought that it was such an interesting story. It's written by a journalist from Buenos Aires that is following a dancer that is preparing for the next year's competition. So this form of dance is so demanding and grueling, and these dancers really give so much of themselves. They sacrifice so much of their bodies for this competition. And the reigning champion is sort of revered as a hero. It's a dance that requires very hard-hitting, precise footwork, and that is so exhaustive that most dancers can only last 5 minutes before they head backstage and then collapse. This will of course complete the challenge of Roots because it is a translated work. Next up, I am recommending American Dreamer by Adriana Herrera. This is an adult male-male romance written by a Dominican author and featuring a Dominican protagonist. And the main character's name is Ernesto Vasquez, also known as Nesto. He is Dominican. He comes from a very big and tight-knit Dominican family, and he runs an Afro-Caribbean food truck. He is dedicated to making his dreams reality and opening a restaurant, so he decides to move his food truck to the northern part of New York, and parks it across the street from a library. And it just so happens that Jude Fuller, a librarian that works at the library across the street, meet Nesto, and of course they fall in love. I love this book for the food, of course. I mean, you can see a trend here. I love that there's a lot of books, there's a lot of community here, and I love how the main characters work through their issues. There's also a bit of handling of grief with Jude's backstory, which you would get into once you read the book. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Idlewild, which is another male-male romance that I read this year. That is written by a Brazilian author, so that would be another great option for this readathon if you'd like to read that. So this is another 2-for-1 recommendation. So yeah, if you like books that will probably make you hungry, that have a lot to do with family and connectedness and chasing your dreams, this book could be great for this readathon. And of course, this book would complete the challenge of Voices because the author is Afro-Latinx. Next up, I'm recommending Loose Woman by Sandra Cisneros. This is a work of poetry from a Mexican-American author. And Sandra Cisneros is best known for The House on Mango Street, which I think is a Chicano literature classic. I actually don't like that book that much, and I get along much better with her poetry. So that's why I'm recommending this. You may not have even known that she wrote poetry, but she does. And I found this book to be very sensual, very poignant, very in your face. And I love the way that she uses Spanish language and feminist language and all the raw intimacy incorporated. So if you're looking for some poetry that is just utterly enchanting and bold, this is definitely for you. And this would work for the Roots Challenge because there is more than one language on the page. Next up, while we're talking about poetry, let's talk about Corazón by Yesika Salgado. This is a work of poetry written by a Salvadorian author. This is just a super powerful, unapologetic brown work of poetry that would also count for Fat Rep if you're interested in doubling up for Latinx Book Bingo. I feel like most of these poems are fierce in their attempts to satiate a hunger for some sort of love, whether that be a self-love, a love from family, from a significant other. And there's this overarching journey towards redemption in this that I really enjoyed. I love the colloquial freestyle use of language in this work, and I like how that sort of transcends Latinx experiences. This is a journey of heartache and all the feelings that come with love. And I know when I read this, I kind of felt at first underwhelmed, but a lot of these poems really lingered even to this day, a year later. So that's why I'm recommending it today. And this would fulfill the challenge of roots because there is definitely more than one language on the page. Okay, my camera just died, so I apologize if there's like a jarring shift, but I can't really tell from my viewfinder, but let's keep it moving. So the next two books that I want to recommend, I'm going to talk about together because they are both children's picture books. And yes, picture books definitely count for our readathon. Any books that you can add on your shelf from Goodreads count for the Latinx-A-THON. And I am always going to be a proponent of middle grade and kids lit and picture books because of infographics like this. As of this study and the year 2018, only 5% of children's picture books featured main characters that were Latinx. And that's a problem. So with that said, I am recommending Celia Cruz, The Queen of Salsa by Veronica Chambers. This is a child picture book. It's a biography about the prolific Cuban salsa singer named Celia Cruz. This is a picture book that is so vibrant and vivid in its story of this Afro-Latinx girl. And when's the last time that you read a story about a Afro-Latinx princess? Because I could not remember before reading anything like that. And that is why Veronica Chambers wrote this book. Veronica Chambers is actually Panamanian and Afro-Latinx, so this book would count for the Voices Challenge. The last book that I am recommending is called Alma y cómo obtuvo su nombre by Juana Martinez-Neal. This is a book written by a Peruvian author, and it is of course translated into Spanish. I think Spanish picture books are really great to read if you are maybe learning a second language because the language is a little bit more simple. But I love the charcoal black and white illustrations in this book. They are so beautiful and classic. So Alma doesn't understand why she has 6 names, and one day she turns to her father for the answer. And he begins to tell her the story of her family and why she is named after each of her family members. And I just really love this story. It's so classic, so heartwarming, and it would work for the Roots Challenge because it has been translated actually from English to Spanish. So those are all my official recommendations for the Latinx-A-THON. I noticed after looking at this list that I actually don't have any to complete the Latinidad challenge, so I'm gonna just rapid fire 2 recommendations that have probably been mentioned on my channel many times before. So Itza by Rios de la Luz was the group read from last year's Latinx-A-THON. I think all the co-hosts love this, and it's kind of horror, kind of magical realism about a girl that is reclaiming herself after trauma, her body and her identity after trauma. Also, of course, I mentioned Anne-Marie McLemore already in this video, so I have to talk about When the Moon Was Ours, which I highly recommend. It's a YA fairy tale with some magical realism elements, and it's a queer love story between a queer girl and a trans Pakistani boy. And it's inspired by the author's own love story. So that's another great recommendation for the Latinidad prompt. So my co-hosts and I have all coordinated our recommendations videos. So I'm definitely going to direct you to their videos as well. We really wanted to have some variety for all these Latinx-A-THON prompts, so you'll want to check those out too. So those are my recommendations for the Latinx-A-THON. I am also going to mention that our giveaway is still open. You have 1 more week to enter the giveaway. So please take advantage of all the ways that is possible to enter the giveaway. Looking forward to seeing all of your TBRs. My TBR will be out next week. That's all I have for this video, so I really hope that you enjoyed it. Let me know down in the comments down below if you saw anything that you're interested in reading now, or if you're looking for a specific recommendation that you didn't see here. Maybe I can reach out to my co-host and we can come up with something that would work for you. But that is all I have for this video today, so thank you so much for watching, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Bye!